race fans, Ryan Aho here, the one and only Bert Lehman with the Waste Management shirt on, and of course, Coach Kraus in the house with us here tonight. Gotta be honest, not a football show. We're not going to talk about football. We don't like football. We're racing fans here. Nothing to talk about in the football world. Okay, we're just going to skip right on past the Vikings tied for the number one pick in the draft right now, and Green Bay on top. All right, I got it out of the way for you, Bert. We'll just move on. Save that for another day. Episode 194, though, guys, brought to you by our friends over at Zeuli's Race Engines. And I tell you what, they've been tearing up the racetracks. Tons of wins, lots of championships. Matt Sparby, tip of the cap, congratulations. Big win out there at the sites in the Superstock. That's a Zeuli tower underneath the hood. Several others as well. Go to their Facebook page. They do a really good job of posting all their winners every week. So check that out. And one thing I know for sure, this is the time of year where people start thinking a little bit about what's going on next year. You want to have a good milk, good power, good dependability. Get a hold of the folks over at Zeuli's Race Engines. I was talking to old Zeuli boy himself there. And one thing Kraus knows a little bit about this. This is a time of year, it's kind of coming down to the wire where tracks can submit proposed rule changes. And there's a lot of different stuff out there. We're not going to get into all that topics. But drivers, this is a time of year where if you have something in mind that you want changed, write out a proposed rule, why you want it that way, how you want the verbiage to be, get that to your promoter so they can actually send that in, get it on the agenda, get it talked about. All of us racers, me included, we bitch about the rules all the time, right? But there's a process to this. The first step of the process is actually getting that on the docket, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that in the weeks to come. So, Bert, let's just start with you, right? I mean, we ain't going to get into all the Eldora stuff until just a little bit, but how was the trip, man? I saw you ate like a king out there. You guys were just feasting. How was the just overall experience at Eldora?
It was a great trip. This was the first time I went to Eldora since 2019, so it was before COVID. But I go with one of my friends, and he goes to the Dream in the World every year, and since 2000. So just sitting in the parking lot, he's met people from different states, Georgia, South Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky. And over the years, they meet up at Eldora for those two races, and like you said, they started cooking out in the parking lot, and so there's no track food for us. I ate no track food. The only thing I bought at the track was a lemonade, because that's tradition for me to get a fresh squeezed lemonade. But yeah, the first night we had pulled pork sandwiches and hamburgers with mushrooms and stuff stuffed in the hamburgers. Second night we had half chicken, and I have a picture of all the half chickens laid out on the grill. And then the third night we had steaks, and these steaks were very thick. so yes, we eat very well there, and there's probably 20 to 25 people in the group that meet up every year. We save parking spots for each other in the parking lot, so we all park by each other. And basically we got every except for Thursday, but Friday and Saturday we got there at 10 in the morning to save spots for everybody, and then we just hung out in the parking lot. Once the track opened, we'd go look at the souvenirs. One day we walked in the pit. We upgraded to a pit pass and walked in the pits. So it's just a great experience.
Yeah, it looked like you had fun. We'll break down the World 100 here in just a little bit when we get into our obvious top 5 moments. But I went race. Kraus, you didn't go racing anywhere this week, right?
No, I didn't. It was pretty much on the couch all weekend. Obviously, we're full swing in with hockey, so I practiced all the way through Friday, and the daughter's playing on the high school tennis team, so we're running around doing stuff like that and pretty much just watching racing these days.
Yeah, I saw that. I kind of did the same. However, I did make the trip down to Sycamore to go help the One to Go Show 83 cars, right? And 7th in a row for Dave Dulciak in the street stock. He just kind of putting it to him over there. Gonna see if that old boy got sharpened his pencil though, because we're gonna put him to a test this week. We're going to Falls on Saturday. Now, Brian, car was fast. Car looked good. Guys, I'm just gonna leave the jury out to you, right? You tell me if this is a donkey award or not. I'm gonna kind of he's a team car, so I'm gonna kind of put this in your guys' hand. It's got to be a group. Goes out in the heat race. Guy spins out in front of him right away. Not his fault. Rips the right, kind of tears up the right front fender and all that. Couple laps later, a guy drives right through his left ear, spins him out. He gets put to the back along with the guy, so he's mad. Forgot to scale. Like they said top 2 redraw. He thought it was top 2, didn't go to scales, right? So he had to start in the back of the feature. Coming through the feature, the same guy that spun him out literally spun out in front of him, and he just mashed it and teed him up. There was no brakes, no lifting, no nothing. And so, Kraus, I'm going to ask you first, right? You ever have that guy, right, that just literally is just wrecking your shit week after week, and finally it's like, you know what? I've had enough of this guy. You ever kind of do that? You ever just kind of lay one on somebody?
Yeah, it always just kind of it just for some reason it just happens back to back. It's weird, and then you go out in the next heat race the next week, and you're lined up right next to the guy, or he's right in front of you again. Of course, it's going to happen, and usually a lot of times it's a new guy, or it's someone young, up and coming. But as you get older, you realize that you were in that spot probably one time too. And I'm sure Ryan, you were, and I know I was. Coming up through the ranks, being 17, 18-year-old in the super stock class, and now we're the old guys. So yeah, you always run into those guys. It's super hard when it's the same guy not to lose your cool and do something dumb. And all the fans these days want you to do something dumb and steal a four-wheeler or do whatever. But yeah, sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, he did. And needless to say, they said, yeah, we don't need you making any more laps today. We're going to just go ahead and send you right off the racetrack. And I'm like, I'm not opposed to getting somebody back, but dude, you got to be smarter. We get experience, right, as we get older on how to get people back in a smarter way. So is that a donkey award, or is that just one of those deals we're going to chalk it up as learning? Bert, you make the call.
What's that?
Is he going to get a donkey award for that or no?
No.
No donkey award. Brian, your guy right there, Bert, made the official decision. No donkey award, but don't let it happen again, right? He had a fast car. Car was rotating good. Looked like he's going to have a good run, but I guess we'll try again next week. So with that said, let's jump into a little hot laps, hot takes. Brought to you by our friend Brad Parson. Brad Parson's Soil and Egg Solutions. One thing Bert's talking about food, right? There's a lot of different food out there. If you're in farming, you know all about that, right? So I know nothing about farming, but I do know that farmers like to make money. Higher yields equal more money. And if you want that, Brad has a lot of products, a lot of stuff out there that can help you get exactly what you're looking for to have a successful season for farming rolling into 2024. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, to learn about all the products that he has. Now, guys, our hot topic of the week this week, it's WISSOTA 100. This is a big week, right? So regardless, right, despite, my opinion, right, some of our opinions, the ineptitude of WISSOTA to truly make this an event that it really could be, it's still the biggest event in the area. It just is, right? I mean, you take out the crown jewels like the USA Nationals, local racing, it is still the number one event. But I got to ask you guys, this is a constructive project here, not a just bash deal. This is a constructive deal. They say the greatest show on dirt, right? The WISSOTA 100. And a lot of us would be like, bullshit, right? Like that little kid on the meme there, right? So let me ask you this. Each of you come up with a couple things. in your mind, and Kraus, you've been to many Wissota 100s. Bert, you've been to some in the past. But there's literally specials every single week, all year long. It is bonkers, right? There is come invitational season, and they're just stacked on top of each other. What needs to be done to make the Wissota 100 truly stand alone at the top? Like, this is the best event. What I got some ideas here in mind, but what are some ideas you guys might have that Wissota could do to make this event a standalone #1 top special of the Wissota season? Kraus, I'm starting with you.
You're going with me. I think the number one thing is we gotta end points. We gotta end national points this weekend and crown your champions at the Wissota 100. Obviously, you're going to have a feature winner too, but you need to come out there and crown your champions. I think that would make it a huge deal. I was thinking about. I'm not a fan of the format. I'm not. I think you could do some sort of every lap counts kind of deal Wednesday and Thursday, and get your qualifiers out of the way Friday and have Saturday just your features. I know Boone runs some minor stuff on Saturday, but for the most part, when those features kick off, it's those features. You know what I mean? So I think you need to make sure it's just those features, and not having the technically the hooligan races there to start on Saturday, and turn that into just some features. And I mean, we can go on and on and on, but those are just a couple things, I think from a racer and a spectator, just, hey, let's make this, because it is 10,000 to win the late models, and is it 7,500 to win the mods, or seven?
Right around there. Yeah.
I mean, it is $4,000 to win the super. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of paying races like those around every single week. You're not paying 10 grand. I don't think there was one this year, was there? With the Rumble was down to 63 this year. So, I think they need to promote that more. Hey, we are paying 10 grand to win this deal. And now I haven't heard one wink about the Challenge Series. I don't know who's leading the points. I don't know what's going into the Challenge Series on Wednesday. I know they're busy and I know they're doing stuff, but they have to have somebody pumping out some stuff here saying, hey, the Challenge Series finale is on Wednesday. Here's what's going down. Here's what's at stake. Here's the money on the line. This guy can move into the top 10, or this guy can win it. You know what I mean? Just, from the promotion standpoint. So those are the couple of main things that I think that needs to really be amped up.
And I like that idea for Saturday, because let's face it, the last couple of years, and I know they had to battle weather, one of them, but I mean, we're talking 2 a.m. One of the best races I saw was Johnny Broking coming from 25th to 2nd. Nobody else saw it unless they watched the replay, because it was at 2 a.m. And I know Puka was sound asleep, Tweety Birds, right? Was not watching it. And the fact is, that's unfortunate, right? So you're right. If they took all and do the alphabet soup type deal or whatever, because another pet peeve I have is you can race Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, or whatever, try to get in. And for the last several years, they only took so many cars to the LCQ instead of giving everybody an opportunity to race in. That's got to change. But you're right. Do all that on Friday, and then Saturday you could have the 5 main events. And if they want to do their Parade of Champions, guess what? All great. Now you got time. You could do a true driver's introduction, right? You could really kind of make it a marquee championship day. And I think that's a good idea for sure. Bert, what do you got?
Well, I haven't been to the Wissota 100 for a long time, so I'm not exactly sure what I do like Jeff's idea of ending the points this weekend, so you can crown champions at the Wissota 100. If this is supposed to be your premier event, I mean, it would be cool to crown champions at the event. One thing that comes to mind, obviously, for me is you need to continue to hold it at one track. Hosting it at different tracks, to me, I feel it loses its luster, because you don't know where it's even going to be every year. Now, granted, that may not be fair to some other tracks, that want to host the event, but I think an event truly gains more status if it's always held at the same venue.
Yeah, and it was Cedar Lake forever. And obviously, that marriage is no longer there. Huron that was a great facility out at Huron. To be completely honest, I think the track when it's on at Fergus, the racing is probably better at Fergus than it is at Huron. But as far as the camping and that type of deal, that's better at Huron. But yeah, you're right. Just kind of having that consistency, kind of like the Boone IMCA Super Nationals, right? I mean, that's like a destination type deal. So from the driver's aspect, a couple things that come to mind is all these stupid fees, right? I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, Billiam was on last week with Sally kind of talking about these fees, but, draw fees, get rid of them. ABC Raceway, they got the Red Clay Classic coming up in a couple weeks. The payout is actually deeper, better than the 100 in a lot of spots, but there's no draw fee, right? And they even got a sponsor to pay the drivers weigh in on night one. They're working on night number 2. Get rid of the parking fees. If you want a premier spot, right? I get it, great. If you want a premier spot, but if you're parking in the back 40, drivers should not have to be nickel and dime to death just for showing up for the 100. A solution to this problem, right, is get class sponsors. So you go out there and get, I don't care, whatever. I'm in the truck right now, so I'll say you get Halver lines. And you figure out if we have 80 Midwest mods or whatever, what does that draw fee equal to? Well, you want to get enough sponsor money to offset their parking and offset their draw fees. You do that for each class. Now the drivers are looking, hey, they went to work for us. That's a great deal. Biking all season long. You don't pay to get in, right? You don't pay to get in. So, and that's a huge selling point when drivers get there and they're like, I don't have to pay for all this stuff. Speaking of that, the camping fees. I mean, it is what it is, but it's 3 times as much to camp at the Wissota 100 than it is to camp at the USA Nationals. Come on, guys. I mean, get to work, get some more sponsor money so you don't have to gouge everybody to create extra revenue. Now, this one's kind of touchy to me, so let's start with this. Let's go with this. Promote the drivers, not yourselves. What the hell? I looked at the Facebook page here, Bert. I don't know if you saw this or not a couple days ago, right before the AFCO MPH Invitational at Bemidji. They had a video out there, kind of a promotional video for this event. I am not shitting you. The video was, here's our staff. Here's this Wissota guy and this gal and this person's announcing, and here's the flag man. What? Like, if you're going to put a video together, promote the drivers. Hey, here's your drivers that are going to be coming to race. What are we doing? Promote the drivers, the tracks. They spent all year long, like, meet the staff, right? They got all this stuff on Facebook. I don't know where that ever came from. I've never seen that in any other sanctioning body other than Wissota, but that was kind of ridiculous. Okay. Now, the pay. Jeff, I'm just going to ask you, is it possible that the people that kind of put this deal together, you look at the qualifying features and all that, do they just not understand what it costs to actually race a race car? Is it just straight up ignorance, right? Is it? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it could be. They did stick to their guns and they did raise the qualifying purses, but it's still, I think the majority of them are still less than a weekly show.
They are.
I think the supers, they threw $100. Is it $250 now to win the super? It used to be $150. And like I said before, that Wednesday night qualifier, it was probably the hardest feature I've ever won. And you get $150. So I mean, it's tough. And they say, yeah, every time you're on the track, will you get paid? Well, this day and age, race gas being $14 a gallon, and the way the tires are, saying, hey, you get in on Friday, you're probably going to say, hey, I'm in. Or you get in on Wednesday, I'm in. I'm not going to race Thursday and Friday just because the costs are so much. So, and I don't know if it went down a little bit or what went down, or I didn't really look at the whole payout, but they did stick to their guns and say that, hey, we were going to raise the qualifying purse. They did that. And I think they raised the Midwest mod purse overall, I think is what another post I saw, which, I mean, yeah, they get 90 to 100 Midwest mods, but at the end of the day, they're still not the most expensive cars to drive too. So yeah, they need to definitely look at that. And if they want drivers to race every day, the only ones there's only going to be 2 or 3. The guys battling for national points is it. So that's why I think that format just, throw it out the window. Let's do 2 full shows and get your points there. And then still, they finally threw in the WISSOTA, national points for Saturday now, which is the way it should be too. So yeah, they need to take a look at that and say, hey, sit down, look at that qualifying person, say, hey, what can we do here to A, get more cars, and B, then help the drivers out.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, right, that they didn't just out of the goodness of their heart raise the qualifying pay, the qualifying feature pay. They eliminated the AFCO Racing Champions, and they took a portion of that money and threw some of that onto the qualifying features. I don't know if they put the whole dollar amount on there. I don't know that for sure, but they took that. So the money was there. They just reallocated it is all they did. They really need to be raising it. But yeah, $250 to win the super stock qualifying feature, $150 for a tire, right? Race gas, between race gas and a tire and your way in, you win the feature, and guess what? You're not going to come out ahead. Another thing here, Bert, did you watch anything from Boone? I see Kraus kind of bounced off here for a second, but did you watch?
I did not watch anything from Boone. I just heard some results, but I obviously I was at Eldora, so I really didn't see too much of any other racing.
Biggest thing.
I did watch part of the Dirt Kings race during an intermission while at the World 100.
Nice. So where I'm going with that is contingency prizes. Now, they did have a handful of contingency prizes, not much at the AFCO MPH race, but this is something that Rod touted about last year. Hey, we're going to have a ton of, it's going to be just like the IMCA Boone Super Nationals. Well, if that's the case, they sure haven't promoted it at all, so those sponsors should be upset. So they really need to work. There's several of us that would be willing to help with that if they wanted help with it. And then take a book. This is gonna kind of sting them a little bit with soda, but take a page from the playbook of Dennis McCulley. Jeff Kraus, I got a question for you. Did you get a phone call, a text message, a Facebook message inviting you from anybody to come to the WISSOTA 100 this year as a racer?
I'm going to say I got a renewal email from them to renew my pit spot. I think that was about it. But and I obviously check my emails pretty regularly now, and I'm especially doing stuff with here at Viking Speedway and stuff like that too. So staying on top of things, but no texts, no calls, none of that.
So a suggestion to WISSOTA, to the promoters, whoever's listening, right? Have somebody from WISSOTA, each person designated to one class, right? One person for late models, one for mods, one for supers, one for Midwest mods, one for streets. And that person's job a month out from the 100 is to reach out to every single driver, however you have to, and personally invite them, just like Dennis McCulley does, to the Superstock Series, to the 100. It goes a long ways. Now, Wednesday, one addition they have, guys, Wednesday, you talked about this, Kraus, is the Challenge Series finale is Wednesday night. The WISSOTA, the Structural Buildings WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series finale. Now, you go to my race pass, and they still don't really have the drop showing there, so the casual fan looking at the points on my race pass has no idea who's leading points. That's ridiculous. I mean, what are we doing? How do we not know who's leading? I mean, what the breakdown is and all that. But I got a question for you. This reminds me of 2006 when Cedar Lake split, and they had the DTRA 100 at Cedar Lake, and they had the WISSOTA 100 at Rice Lake, and they up and decided as a WISSOTA board or whoever that we're giving 50 bonus points to anybody that goes to the WISSOTA 100, therefore hijacking the drivers. Okay, you had to go. So what I did that year, guys, is I went to Cedar Lake on Thursday because I was racing for DTRA and WISSOTA. I won Thursday, putting myself on the pole for Saturday night at Cedar Lake. I went to Rice Lake Friday, tooled around the back. I knew I was leaving, got yelled at by Billy. You're disqualified. I'm like, don't care. I'm leaving. Got my 50 bonus points. Went back to Cedar Lake. Got second to Ashley Anderson. Hell of a wheel, man. We had a fun race, but he got me. But I felt like I was being hijacked. The late model guys, are they being hijacked here, right? You look at Pat Dorr. He lives, what, 10 minutes? Not even from the Cedar Lake Speedway. Radetsky's over there. Canta's over there. Now they're forcing them to come over to the Wissota 100 on Wednesday, hoping that they will stay and run the whole Wissota 100. They're trying to, kind of mend fences with Cedar Lake, and now they're basically trying to hijack their cars over there. What's your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Well, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I guess I don't have as much of a problem with it if this was the schedule at the beginning of the season. Then drivers had time to prepare and, decide if they want to follow the series and that sort of thing. But yeah, I do agree. I mean, this does if they're going for the championship, it does force them to go to the Wissota 100. And then, yeah, obviously Wissota's hoping that they stay then for the whole weekend.
Do you think Cedar Lake's looking at it going, really? Really? We're trying to mend. You want to mend fences here, and you're basically trying to hijack our cars over there, Kraus?
Well, yeah, definitely. But it's going to be interesting to see who leaves. Because Canta did it last year. There's been multiple guys that come up and run on Wednesday and things don't go well. They just go to Cedar. So it's going to be interesting to see. And that's a really big black eye when all of a sudden you get those guys to show up for the Challenge Series and then they're going to bolt and head to Cedar Lake for down there to the Legendary and not stay for the Wissota 100. So it's going to be interesting to see what pans out there. And Sam Mars, I think he'll stay. Some of those guys do, but like you said, it's right there. Yeah, it's definitely something that they should have looked at and worked out. But obviously they're trying to hijack cars and get everybody to stay. I just it's another thing. We want to see all those guys at the Wissota 100. I get that. You know what I mean? So it's a tough deal, and maybe you should work something out. Let's work together and see what we can do to get both. But it's going to be super tough with the Legendary going on, and majority of those guys are all, like you said, not very far away from Cedar Lake.
Yeah, and let's face it. I mean, the weather might play an issue in that deal too, one way or the other. I mean, it's going to be good. I mean, most of the top cars throughout the region will be at Fergus, the vast majority. Not that Cedar Lake won't get some good cars, but here's Bert, you're a points guy. I'm a points guy. I like points, right? Wissota late model national point standings going into the Wissota 100. The one TPO of Tyler Peterson and Chad Becker are tied for the point lead. Modifieds, Shane Sabraski's kind of gonzo, but TPO, Joe Thomas, Johnny Broking, Brady Gertis are literally in a dogfight to get that runner-up spot. So that's going to be good to watch. Superstock, Sabraski's got 30 wins. He's gone. Dexton Cook's only 3 points ahead of Trevor Nelson for second. Trevor Nelson's chucking 101. So Trevor Nelson might be taking over the number 2 spot. That'll be a good battle between him and Dexton. Midwest Mod, Zach Benson, pretty sizable lead. There's a bunch of them. I mean, second could go to literally anybody in that deal. There's nobody that's kind of right there. But in the street stocks, Braden Brower, Justin Vogel, tied for the point lead as well. Tied in the street stocks. Vogel has 1 106 and 8 107s to chuck. Brower's got 7 107s. And then Tucker Peterson and Colton Brower are really, really tight for third as well. So, like Jeff was talking about, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are all point shows. Now, how this works, right? If you're a fan listening to this, you run Wednesday and what is it, 8, Jeff? Do they lock in 8? So the top 8 from Wednesday's show are locked in on Saturday. However, if you're in that top 8, you can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to race again tomorrow. Well, if you're in a points battle here, right, you might win Wednesday night, right? Chad Becker could win the feature on Wednesday, be sitting on the pole for $10,000 to win for Saturday night. Does he take that and say, I'm going to take the pole, or does he say, Boy, we're in a tight point battle here for the national championship. I'm going to go ahead and race again on Thursday and race again on Friday to try to get as many point shows as he can. That's going to be really fun to watch. Kraus, you've seen some of that over recent years here.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, that's something else that needs to be addressed. Hey, let the fans know what's going on, who's going to do it. It's going to be interesting to see some of the lower classes. The late model guys, that's a lot of money on the line. And, in the mods, they got a lot of money in their cars. They're probably going to race. But some of these other guys, it costs a lot of money to go run that WISSOTA 100. And, I think Trevor Nelson took his spot last year and they could still move up in points. But now, the Saturday having national points really throws a curveball into things, because now all of a sudden, if something goes wrong, if you get in and all of a sudden something goes wrong Thursday and Friday and you got to start 20th to 33rd, all of a sudden those national points on Saturday don't look as big, and now all of a sudden you're like, man, I should have started up front to get those national points. So it's going to be really super interesting to see. There's a lot of storylines there, and hopefully they pump that up and get that going and let the fans know what's going on. And coming into Saturday, we can say, hey, this guy's got a 1 point leader, this and that. And it's going to be fun to watch.
100%. So let's jump on to the next segment here, guys. Top 5 stories of the past week, brought to you by our friends over at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. What do they specialize in? Reducing costs, right? Anything from engine stuff to gears, tires. They have treatment out there. Now, prove it. What I'm going to urge people to do is remember the treatment is not legal in WISSOTA racing. Don't be getting booted out of the WISSOTA 100. The cleaner's legal, okay? But I-94 Speedway, they have the Gen X late model series over there on a weekly basis. The treatment is legal to use in that class. So if you're a track promoter, talk to someone. If you see some of those drivers that race that Gen X late model class, talk to them about it, because they're using it legally, and ask them their thoughts if it's truly saving the money, if it's something that can be good to the sport. Get yourself educated. If you want more education on what they have to offer, call Chad 507-828-3536. That's Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So number 5, let's go street stock racing, guys. Out west, out in Montana, 9 in a row for Zeuli powered Rob Petrov. That's a tip of the cap. I'm telling you what, I don't care what class you're in, 9 in a row is a tall task, right? And he actually got the 9th win at the Big Sky Super Nationals this past weekend out in Belgrade at the Gallatin Speedway. So congratulations, Rob Petrov. Number 4, Kraus, you want to take this one?
Where are we at? You better tell me where we're going first. I don't have my list up.
Oh, you don't have it in front of you? Holy Christ, Donkey Award. All right. So 37 years of WISSOTA 100s. 37 years. This past Sunday was essentially day 1 of the 2023 WISSOTA 100, the AFCO MPH Invitational at the home of the Chicken Shack in Bemidji. History was made in WISSOTA auto racing. The first female to win in A-Main at a WISSOTA 100 event, Jenna Hagman in the WISSOTA Hornets. Congratulations. Kind of cool to see. I'm kind of surprised. There's been some pretty good gals out there racing. I'm kind of surprised it took 37 years, but super cool to see a young lady in the Hornets get that done. In the pure stocks, Dustin Puffy got the win, held off national point leader Josh Berg. Mod 4's Tommy Pagonis from 8th. I don't know what happened to Tommy Bowden. He DNF'd. I don't know what happened there. But I do have a fan question that come in. So Josh Berg, he's from there. He's leading the national points. He was there. But your national point leader in the WISSOTA Hornets, not there. Was not there. So I had a fan reach out today. Actually, she said, where was Marstus? Why was he not there? And I kind of did a little bit of digging, talked to a few people, and so they have a car claim in the WISSOTA Hornets. You can actually, I don't know where you have to finish, how it all works, but if you're in a certain spot, you can actually go buy somebody's whole race car for $2,500. Well, they already got the national points locked up. They caught wind, and the rumor, it's all rumors. This is all people telling me this. that there's people that were talking maybe claiming their car. Well, they already have it sold for $5,000. Well, if they get their car claimed, they have to sell it, because if they don't sell it, they lose the national championship. So it's like, that rule is stupid. $2,500, dude, you can't even go freaking buy a car that runs for $2,500 anymore. I mean, so
Yeah,
is it?
there's another stipulation on that, Ryan. I was reading it.
Okay.
You can trade plus $1,000. So it's not, you can give it up, or you can say, hey, I'm going to get a car plus $1,000. So there is a little bit, you know, we were joking yesterday. I said we might as well just go have a whole fleet of Hornets and just start buying cars. You can only do it once a year. You have to finish 6th through 12th, and you can only buy the top 5. You've had to been at the track more than a couple times. So there are a little bit, you just can't show up and buy a car. There are some more stipulations there. I read the rule last night. Unless there's some unwritten rules underneath that I didn't see, that is a strong possibility. But there are some stipulations in there. But still, you're lucky I didn't wear my Billiam shirt tonight either. We'd have been twinning. But there's a couple other stipulations in there. But still, to buy a whole car, I mean, hey, let's go.
Yeah, and I say, you know, and I don't know if that was the only reason. There might have been more to the story. Who knows what they had going on? But the fact is, you know, when you come to that event, just get rid of that stupid rule, at least for that event, right? Be like, if we want all the drivers to come, if they're staying home because they're afraid the car is going to get claimed, that can't happen. So I would say just ixnay that rule, at least for the, I mean, I'd say get rid of that rule altogether. I think it's just stupid, but get rid of that rule for that event for sure. Number 3, let's head to the sites. So, Kraus, you watched pretty much every feature at the sites. What would you say was the most impressive performance of the entire weekend? And Bert, I'm sorry to say, it wasn't in a late model.
Hey, I like all divisions.
Well, I think you even got a shout out from somebody saying, well, it was Puka's brother on the saying that Ryan Ayo was right for once. And Street Stock Stupid on the best show. So, yeah. And the funny thing is, I completely missed the green, white checkered. So I was watching it, and was Aggresseth leading, I believe.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who was in second. Who was he battling with?
I don't remember who was in second.
I can't remember who, but anyway, they were battling. I don't know.
Something going on at Eldora.
Could be. Something was going on at Eldora. I was on the other screen, or Saturday night. Who knows what else I was watching, but something might have been happening at Eldora. And then we flipped it back, and I was watching it with my wife, and I'm like, why is Hunter Carter driving around the track with the checkered flag? So I completely missed the finish, and then they had was it 0.057 or something right at the line? He stuck by him out of 4 and started 24th, was it? So obviously, basically dead last. So you're right. It was a great race. Vogel broke down earlier in the race. He was coming through. And like I said, it was a really good race. And the streeters always put on a good show. I was fortunate. I ran my streeter up there a couple years for the sites. I got second one year to Jordan Tullochson, who obviously he won it a couple years in a row, but a lot of guys finished second to Jordan Tullochson, and then went back up there the next year and got a 5th. I won a B main up there, and so I can at least tell Hot Carl I won a B main, Bert. So, but it was always fun. Always the locals up there real fast, but yeah, I thought overall for the most part it was good racing, and the streeters stole the show.
Yeah, and he didn't even race his heat. He had some kind of issues. He didn't get to start the heat, so he had to come through. And I know he gave a shout out to, I think, his cousin. I think it is Johnny Carter. I think helped him. I think he had to get a starter on there. But yeah, 24th to 1st on that stage. That's impressive. Hell of a job. Number 2, stick with the sights here. Bert, I know you were gone having fun, getting fat and sassy, watching super late models at the biggest show in dirt late model racing. But did you happen to watch that dandy little Wasota action over in North Dakota?
I did not.
The sights goes back to Team Canada. Back to Team Canada. That's number 2. So 2018, Ricky Weiss, 19 and 20 was Turnbull. He went back to back. 21, AJ Demo. 22, Don Shaw. And 23, the 5E, Shane Edgington. with a great run, capitalizing on just a crazy mistake by Tyler Peterson. He was in position. I think there was inside of 10 to go. Edginton's been pretty good in the last couple of years. I mean, he's been fast, but his car always seemed tight. It rotated really well there. I don't really know Shane well, but you never really hear too much bad about him. At least I don't. So congratulations, Shane Edginton, on getting that done. AJ Demel, he spun out. I'm not sure what happened. And then he ended up DNFing. And Chad Becker, what did he start, 24th? He started 24th, didn't he? To second. That's a hell of a run right there, too, for the tied for the national point lead. So Edginton bringing it back. That's 4 times in the last 6 years the Sites Trophy going north of the border. Now, I had a couple fan questions here. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. There is a lot of TPO haters up there. I mean, nobody likes a winner. I get it, right? He wins a lot of races, and he's kind of upset in the apple cart a little bit. He's aggressive. He's fun to watch. I mean, he's exciting. If you're a race fan, it's kind of like the Wissota version of Bobby Pierce, right? He's on the chip. And somebody said, you got to give him a donkey award. As much shit as you've been giving Johnny Broking for spinning out the last freaking 2 weeks, you better be freaking calling out Tyler Peterson. So, Tyler, love you, man, but 3 times, give 3 away. Guys, no disrespect to Shane Edginton. Tyler Peterson should have won all 5 features that he entered. Plain and simple. Should have won all 5, and I guarantee he'd be the first to say it. So, Bert, he won the mods night 1. Night number 2, he was running second, took the lead over Mike Gresseth in the late model feature. The yellow comes out, they put him back in the spot. When they put him back in the spot, he got tight, jumped the cushion, fell back to 4th, immediately charged back to 2nd, got a huge run off of turn 2, and absolutely his nose piece was under the left rear tire of AJ Demel, and then he lifted, and then he got into him again. I don't exactly know what happened, but Demel went around, and TPO went to the back, and he's like, well, I'm pulling off. By far the fastest car on the track. He should have won that race. Night number 2, it was just heats for late models. Mod feature, he's leading that and kind of battling with lap traffic, and he just misjudged the cushion on the top. He don't do it often. Drove right off the top of turn number 2. I'm like, how's that happen, right? Night number 3, kills him in the modified, right? Late model, gets the lead. One of them lappers was racing him pretty hard for 3-4 laps. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Like, if you're a lapper, like, let the guy go. But he did get clear of him, and then he drove smack into a tractor tire. I mean, he drilled it and folded the nose down, and car wouldn't turn after that. Should have been 5 for 5. So, yeah, I guess there's us pointing out the flaws with the TPO. There hasn't been many this year, but he's going to look back, guys, this weekend with utter disappointment because he should have won. Right now, he's tied with Chad Becker for the late model points. He should have a healthy lead right now. He should have at least a 10-point lead over Becker right now. And I'm telling you, Becker's won the 100. He's won at Fergus before. TPO can win there too, right? And they're both going to Watertown the week after head-to-head. So they got 6 races head-to-head potentially over the next 2 weeks, plus Fergus the week after, 7. That's going to kind of determine it. But, man, that's a tough break. So, Kraus, anything to add to that? I mean, you watched all that.
Yeah, no, it was a tough deal. Like you said, he should have won them all. I mean, legitimately had a chance to win them all. And, the late model feature was just okay. It kind of lost its luster there a little bit. Nothing, like you said, nothing against Shane Edginton. He's been fast. He's been really fast and did a real good job there. But you take TPO out and Demel, I thought those guys were going to be duking it out, and no one else really came through the field. I thought before that one yellow, because Chad Becker was rail on the high side. He went from deep to like 6th or 7th, and then a bunch of yellows kind of killed his momentum a little bit. I think it took a little bit more time to clean the top off, but then he was coming again at the end. So it would have been interesting to see another yellow there. But it was kind of had some yellows there late, and got spread out. But again, congrats to Shane. He was in his sounds like he was in his MB custom. He didn't have his sniper. I'm pretty sure that's what he said in Victory Lane, because he's got a sniper. I'm pretty sure he has a capital too. That because I know when he was with Don Shaw there running there a little bit, he had one of them too. But I'm almost positive he said he had his MB. So it was interesting to kind of see the different chassis there. But it's always fun to watch. They packed the place. They put on a show. I know some people were talking about maybe too many classes. Maybe like to see the super count get a little bit higher. But a lot of people don't realize John Seitz grew up in a super stock. And I ran against him. You ran against him. There's not a whole lot of drivers out there that have raced against John Seitz in a super stock. So it's cool to see the supers back there. Brad Sang was in a super stock for a while. I raced against him a few times too. You probably did too. So I thought it was cool to see the supers, but you got 5 classes and you're going to get some, the couple of features got a little long on Saturday, had a lot of yellows and stuff, but good racing. It's a great show and they do a really good job up there at that show.
92 laps, and I'm telling you what, I mean, the track held together great, right? At the end of 92 laps, and this has been a common theme over the last several years, right? We watch the sites where like 92 laps, that track ain't gonna last. It does every time, and we've seen tracks locked down in 20 laps. So that's a tip of the cap to the track prep crew as well. And one more fan question in regards to TPO, and I got my thoughts on this, and I'll share them. But so it's become a common thing. I've seen it in sprint car racing probably more than anything, where the winner will jump up on top of the car with a checkered flag and chuck it down, right? And you guys have probably seen that where they do that. Well, some of the people over in that neck of the woods kind of get a little salty about old TPO. They kind of take it as a sign of disrespect. I literally watched the winner of the World of Outlaw sprint car feature do the exact same thing on Saturday. So I think it's more common than people think. Well, needless to say, the flag man over there at Grand Forks said, ain't giving you the flag. Quit throwing my flag on the freaking ground. Not going to do it. Not having it. So they went and bought, I don't know how long ago this was, guys. They went and bought their own checkered flag. So his crew guys got stick signals, right? That they give them stick signals with. And they actually have their own checkered flag. And he has it furled up inside of one of the stick signals. So like they're ready after the feature. Like I got our own checkered flag right here. That's like literally, I'm going to take a hat in my car because I'm going to win afterwards. And I want to make sure I have a hat in victory lane. I mean, boss move or dick move?
Oh boy. Well, here, you talk about the hat thing. My dad used to do that, Ryan, and my dad. He's not like that. But he used back when he ran the Sportsman there for a while, and he won like 10 or 12 features one year at Viking Speedway, and he had his hat shoved down his driving suit. So when he got out, and back then it was different, it was, he didn't have, like now when you pull in, that's the first thing my pit guy does. Blair runs over and he gives me a hat. Just so a lot of tracks now give you a hat and things like that. I get that. So I learned from my dad to have that, but now, here's the deal. He's earned the right for that, in my opinion. He wins a lot. They're being prepared, whether they have it or not. Is it a boss move? Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think he's just being prepared and he wins a lot and they expect to win. It's also a confident thing. You know what I mean? You stuff your hat down your driving suit, Bert. That's confidence going out there. Hey, I'm going to win this thing. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's haters are going to hate. It is. People are going to be mad. People are going to be upset. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. Some people are going to say, hey, it's kind of a boss move, but it is what it is, if you ask me.
Bert?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if they won't give him the flag to do it, I see no problem with him bringing his own flag to do it. I mean, this is a little bit well, it is different, but I mean, when Jonathan Davenport wins a feature, he gets on top of his car with his steering wheel and, he drops the steering wheel. I mean, that's different than a checkered flag, but, it's like in the NFL, if they score a touchdown, they have their touchdown dance or whatever. And I don't have a problem with, them bringing their own flag if the track won't give them one to celebrate with.
I love it. Like I was, I can absolutely 100%. When I was in the Superstock days, I could see me doing that exact same thing. So I'm just mad that I didn't think of it first. I think that's super cool. Now, if I was the guy racing against them, like Johnny Broking, right, coming to Fergus Falls to play with Tyler Peterson and Brady Gertis, I would literally be like, "Oh, you think so?" Right? That would literally put a little chip on my shoulder, being like, you're having a checkered flag. Like, you think you're gonna win? Really? So, Johnny Broking, you've been called out here. He carries his own checkered flag to victory lane. Are you gonna let him wave it, or are you gonna be doing that? I remember he said last year at the interview that he's gonna get it done this year. Keep an eye on 45J. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Number one story of the week, right here, after 50 years, Bert. Take it away. You were there. This is your honor. What was the number one story of the week?
Well, there was this little race called the World 100 that took place over the weekend, and 102 cars signed in. And when the dust settled, it was Hudson O'Neal celebrating in Victory Lane.
Yeah, and it wasn't 50 years for him, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Rocket won 50 years of trying for Mark Richards. Never won the world. Guys, he never got second. The Rocket house car never got first or second. That was the first win. He talked about it. Super emotional. Unbelievable. Great show. Hudson won, right? Davenport got second. They kind of was 10 laps to go. He got by him.
Yep.
Great run there for Mac Daddy. 27th to 3rd for Dale McDowell. 3 teams at one point with just a few laps to go. Team Zero cars were 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So they're still alive. They're still there. I mean, is this kind of one of those deals where everybody's leaving Rockets apparently and going to Longhorn, and Mark Richards and Hudson O'Neal are like, hold my beer, I got this. And that's a statement win right there. So let me ask you this. So I was arguing with a buddy of mine about crown jewel events, and his mindset was, "Oh man, it's 100. If it's $100,000 to win, it's a crown jewel. It's $53,000 to win." Is there a bigger late model race, prestige wise, emotion, just the overall, just that people want to win more than the World 100?
I would say there's not another race like it. I mean, money is only part of the equation to me anyway, in determining a crown jewel. We had a lot of time to talk amongst our group at the track, and I think we pretty much all agreed, if you would ask any one of those drivers in the pits if they'd rather win the Dream or the World 100, the majority, if not all of them, would say the World 100. There's just that much prestige behind this race, and the atmosphere is just incredible. I mean, if you don't think the World 100 is a crown jewel race, you haven't been at that race. The atmosphere is just crazy. I don't know if you guys. I mean, this isn't even the racing on the track, but they actually got people to light up their phones with their flashlights, and they did the wave around the racetrack 4 times. 20,000 people doing the race at a half-mile dirt track. And that doesn't even involve the action that took place on the track.
So obviously you were there. Can you hear the drivers' intros real good there, Bert? Like when James Essex and them are saying them, or can you not hear that good live?
When they're not racing, we can hear the intros. It was surprising though. Normally when they do the intros, they lead them across the stage. This year, everybody was buckled in their car and they introduced them one by one on pit lane as they were strapped in their car with their helmets on. I'm not exactly sure why they did it that way, but that's the way they did it.
I'm here to tell you, listening to that, I don't know, did you watch the driver's intros, Cross?
I did.
James Essex, when it got to the last few rows, he couldn't even talk. Like, he was so emotional. Like, I think he was crying the whole thing. Like, there's so much emotion at that event, from the people running it to the, people like James Essex in the booth and the drivers and the car owners and the teams. I mean, he was literally, you could hear it in his voice, like just the emotion. And then when he was talking about Huddy Win, I mean, I thought he was just going to completely lose it. And so that was kind of cool. He's been at pretty much most of them, if not all of them, right? So Hudson O'Neal getting it done. I mean, his dad never won it, right? So that was a pretty cool feat for him. His dad did win the Dream. Another thing they talked about, so there's a yellow, right on the basically final lap. They ended up going green, white, checkered.
Yeah, but
they reiterated a couple times throughout the show that if there's a last lap altercation, it's green, white, checkered. None of this green checkered nonsense, okay? Biggest show in dirt late model racing, they get it. It's green, white, checkered. This whole green checkered deal is the dumbest shit I've ever seen, and I'm super happy that they went green, white, checkered. So think back to old NASCAR races, right? And all of a sudden, Dale Earnhardt or whatever leading the Daytona 500, and the yellow comes out at the end, something's happening, and they got the video footage like on his wife and on the crew. I think that's the only thing that could have made it better. Because can you imagine being, in the Hudson O'Neal camp with a big lead, coming for the white flag, and the yellow comes out? Kraus, I mean, you've led some big races, not like this, neither have I, but can you imagine just the emotion when there's a yellow, something like that? Hudson said, I said every curse word there is when the yellow came out. He goes, I would have loved to have seen footage of Mark Richards, of Hudson's girlfriend, of his dad. Man, what do you think goes through a driver's mind or a team's mind when that yellow happens, when you literally have the biggest race on dirt locked up?
Yeah, the first thing you said it right. You're mad. You're spitting nails, and then the big thing is you got to compose yourself. You got to get settled down. You got to, maybe get your tires cooled down a little bit, get your mind off some things, check out your spotter, check out your, come by, see what your spotter says. Hey, second place guy's running up top, or he was on the bottom, or wherever, and it was interesting. I don't know if you heard, they shut the Jumbotron off. I don't know if you knew that, Bert, if they said that.
No, I was going to bring that up because I noticed with about 25 laps to go, they shut the Jumbotron off, because you could watch the race on the screen for the first 75 laps. And then after that, it just listed the running order and how many laps to go. And we made a point. I brought that up after the Dream because they made a big deal about not not signaling anymore. But then in a post-race interview, Tim McCready said that, he was looking at the big screen to see where the cars were behind them. So I was wondering if that was the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, it was. And it was kind of interesting thing. And no stick signals, but they still got pit guys. I know at the Dream, their crew guys were sitting in the stands. They were sitting around all the track and sitting in the stands signaling. Well, how are you gonna police that? You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of interesting. So he just needed to calm down, hit his marks. Those restarts at Eldora, boy, are those things wild. I mean, they are completely wild. If you don't guard the middle of the inside lane, those guys duck down and they're going 3 wide instantly. Guys that try to go up to the top and then shoot down, it don't work. You got to protect your line, because guys are going to shoot it in there, and you can, and then they just roast it into 1 wide open. So, he did a good job of calming himself down, especially being a young guy. And then the flip side is you got the 49 behind you, who's Mr. Eldora's been winning everything there. So he did a real good job of got to get your emotions under check. Your first thing you usually do is you drive around and see who caused the yellow. Then you're going to send him a little message with a finger or a fist, or be like, what are you doing? And a lot of those guys cause yellows, just, stop on the track and then pull in. So he did a good job. I thought it was a really, really good race. The big thing, my big take was I didn't think Thursday racing was very good. And Tony said, no, we're changing this. And then Friday and Saturday, I thought were phenomenal racing. And he's like, no, we got to get back to the slide jobs, get back to ripping spoilers off. So it was good to see Huddy win, especially with all this Longhorn stuff going on. And boy, I tell you what, those Bloomquist cars are fast.
For sure. And he's only 20. He just turned 23 too. So, it probably won't be his last one. He's got it going on. One of the most interesting things that happened there, and I'd like to hear what Bert's take is on this and how the crowd responded. So I don't remember if this was Thursday or Friday. I feel like it was maybe Friday, but RTJ in the prelim deal on the caution, sideswiping a freaking safety vehicle on the track. Yellow comes out. There's a safety truck out there. I don't know if they're picking up debris. He's looking down at the crew, right, in the infield, just about tees it up, and he last minute tail whipped it. Hit it just right, knocked the tail light out of the truck, but clipped the truck, right? And Facebook went crazy. My text box went crazy. They got to disqualify him. You're running into a safety vehicle on a racetrack. That's got to be an instant disqualification. If I'm in my truck and I run into a safety vehicle on the road, I'm going to jail. So first of all, and I know Kraus has a take on this, and we'll come back around to that. But how did the crowd respond, Bert, when RTJ ran into that vehicle? Was there a mixed emotion? Did they think he should have been black flagged? What was the thoughts?
To be honest with you, I don't even know how many people in the crowd noticed that it actually happened. I didn't see it happen. Because when a caution comes out, people are talking to each other, and they may try to run to the bathroom or whatever. But I remember the announcers were making a big deal, but where we sit, we're under the roof, and the speakers are out by the track, so we don't get the full impact of the audio coming up to our seats. So I knew something happened, but I didn't know what happened. I didn't actually see it until I got back to the hotel. Actually, what happened?
So Kraus, first of all, if you run it, lucky nobody got hurt. He just barely clipped it, right? So if they're going to let the cars go around the track and all that, and you clip a safety vehicle, if you would have hit that thing harder, that would have been a Juan Pablo Montoya incident right there. But Kraus, you had a good idea and a good take. What are they doing at the Viking Speedway when yellows come out like this?
Well, my big thing is if you have I don't care who it is, any sort of track official, we have four-wheeler operators, you need to stop the cars. Just stop them on the front stretch. Let them clean up. Let the personnel get off the track, and then let's continue racing. And then you can get the cars rolling. The flip side is you can get the cars lined up, ready to go. The scorer can get on there and line the cars up while they're still out there. And I'm just not a proponent of driving on the track. That it's RTJ's fault, and it's RTJ's fault and not his fault. There's two trucks sitting on the track with multiple people. Stop the cars. And then the flip side, there was nobody out there directing. I think it was in Bemidji did a good job Sunday where they had an actual guy out on the track pointing, hey, go to the high side, directing traffic. The flag man needs to make sure, hey, I got workers, I got personnel in turns 1 and 2. You need to be talking. But I'm huge on just stop the cars, especially when you have 3 or 4, because you're going to have 6, 7, sometimes 8 people. It only takes one mishap, someone to trip over a tow truck and fall into a car, or RTJ, he's down a cylinder, he's looking at his pit. You know what I mean? Let's just stop the cars. It's common sense. Let's be smart here. Let's keep everybody safe. If it takes an extra 30 seconds to a minute and you keep everybody safe, just do it. No one's going to get killed. No one's going to get injured.
100% agree with that. I think that's the best bet. If there's safety equipment on the track, stop the cars, let them get it cleaned up. Why risk it? Everybody's in such a rush, and that could end up really bad. The last thing I have, and then I'm going to turn it back to Bert for some closing thoughts. is they're supposed to start 28. They ended up starting 30. And on the final row, 16-year-old Tristan Chamberlain became the youngest driver to ever qualify, qualify for the World 100. Next to him was Corey Hedgecock. So what happened in their B main, they didn't find out till afterwards, but the top four made the show. You weren't supposed to change tires. Somebody did. I think they were supposed to start in the back if they changed tires, and they didn't catch it. So they let those four drivers, there was two of them that changed tires. They let them still enter the World 100. They said, hey, we didn't catch it till late. You're in. And they put two other drivers in. Kind of an interesting move. And I gotta give a tip of the cap to Tony Stewart and the crew for doing that, because I think the rule was if you change a tire before the B, you're supposed to start in the back of the B main. And they didn't catch it till afterwards. At that point, they're like, well, what do we do? It's kind of on the officials. So he just said, hey, I'll take $10,000 more out of my pocket. We'll just put two more cars in the feature, call it a day. Bert, thoughts on that? And any closing thoughts there from the 53rd annual World 100?
Regarding the tire thing, I think that was a good move on the track. And the announcers actually did a good job of explaining that before the race. Unfortunately, like I said, where we sit, we couldn't totally understand what was being said. So I actually had to send a text in our group text to whoever's watching. Can you tell me why there's two extra cars? But I think that was a good move. I have some other notes written down here. As we mentioned, Superman has pretty much won everything there is at Eldora. Apparently, the fans have mixed feelings about that. Winners always get booed, and Davenport got a lot of boos when he was introduced and everything. When Huddy made the pass for the lead, I mean, the place went crazy. I mean, it was a very exciting race to watch in that regard. The fans seem to be mixed on Bobby Pierce. Some cheers and some boos. I actually think Pierce probably would have won that race if he wouldn't have hit the wall. That's one cool thing about actually being at the event and not watching the stream is you can watch different areas of the track or different cars. You're not restricted to just watching what is on the screen. And I could see that Pierce was coming on the high side, and I think he would have been there sooner, but there was a caution that came out that kind of slowed his momentum a little bit. This was the first time I ever saw Tyler Carpenter race in person, so I was actually kind of excited about that. And the luck was not on his side for the weekend, and he started 11th in one of his heat races, and he was up to third, battling for second, and he spun out. He wasn't happy with the driver that he was racing with. After the race, he went and pulled up alongside of him, and maybe they shared addresses for Christmas cards. And then he was charging in his B main too that night, but then I guess he dropped a drive shaft or something, and then he was out. So Bishop was in the Longhorn or in the Rumley R&D car. Just a single car trailer, a mobile trailer pulling it, no big race hauler pulling that car. Bishop looked good, looked bad. He was much better on the longer runs, and he was running the top side. And speaking of the top side, there is no way that I thought that cushion was going to be there at the end after 100 laps, but it was still there. And maybe the weather played something into it, because all 3 days it was low 70s, high 60s. Saturday was actually like high 60s and cloudy all day. So for me, that was perfect weather. none of this hot weather. As we mentioned on last week's show, there's a lot of different graphic schemes that drivers had. Not a lot, but some drivers had different numbers. Chris Madden had a different number. As we said, Overton had a different number. So that was kind of cool. This was the first World 100 I ever went to in which they did track prep prior to the feature. They may have in the last few years, but like I said, I haven't been there since 2019. But the track prep was only on the bottom of the track. They dragged it a little bit and added water to the bottom of the track. They didn't touch the top, so that's why everybody was racing on the bottom early in the race, because there's moisture and stuff down there. But I'm assuming they did it that way because when it locks up, everybody's fighting for the bottom. So this was a way to prevent it from locking down. Just a couple of more things. Pierce looked good every night. He hit the wall after he blew a tire, and according to his Facebook page, the car's hurt kind of bad. They're taking it back to Longhorn, and he's going to race in Fairbury Tuesday night, but then he's skipping the next two. He's not going to Knoxville, or I think it's Browntown after that. One disappointing thing is very, very few kids. I saw very, very few kids at the event. Maybe with how rowdy it gets, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But just very few kids there. And one final thing, Ricky Thornton Jr. was working in his souvenir trailer every day. When Souvenir Row opened on Friday and Saturday, he was in his souvenir trailer selling merchandise. On Friday, he was there selling die casts for $350 a piece. $100 bills were being plopped down like crazy, and there was a line 5 deep to buy die casts. It's limited to 75, and I think he had like 24 of them there in Eldora, and they were sold out in less than an hour at $350 a piece.
How many of them did you get?
I did not buy any. I told my friend, get me out of here before I get in line. No, I did not buy any die casts. And so, yeah, those are the main points I wanted to talk about.
There we go. A little bit of love to the World 100. Hudson O'Neal, your champion this year. So, little who's hot and who's not, guys, brought to you by Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin, home of the Galloper chassis, custom sandblasting, powder coating. They got a fab shop. They sell parts, tires, safety equipment. Chris Bredding is actually the key component. He owns that. They service the tracks in the area. They will be at the Red Clay Classic here in a couple of weeks. And, of course, proud sponsors of the Fastlane Superstock Series. So for all things racing, especially over in Wisconsin area, give those guys a call. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating of Ashland, Wisconsin. So, little who's hot here. Bert, let's start with you. Who's hot? Who's hot?
Well, I'll take the low-hanging fruit again, and I'll go with Hudson O'Neal. I mean, you win the World 100, you have to be on the hot list. I mean, he looked good all 3 nights. I'll just add Bobby Pierce. I mean, he crashed in the 100, but I mean, he looked good all 3 nights, and he's been very good prior to the World 100 also.
Anyone else, or is that what you're sticking with right there?
I'll just sticking with that.
Coach Kraus, who's
we got to talk about Dale McDowell. I mean, I know he didn't win, but here's the other thing is too, you don't realize he doesn't run against these guys every week either. And we mentioned that, reason, 20RT and Pierce and Huddy, they run every show. If there's a race, they're there. And I think that's why they're at the top of their game right now. And, Tim McCready, nowhere to be found. Davenport's finally, but Davenport had his Eldora car. And I don't know if you saw the pictures of that going down the interstate. That thing was on an open trailer heading home too. But Dale McDowell, he's always there. He's a great guy. I think, like he says, I run against all these guys as dads. But he's always fast. He's fun to watch. He's clean. He's a super good guy. And obviously everybody knows his cancer bout he had there. So he battles, but he's every time the big show comes up, he's on. I know he won a couple. He runs, the Southern Series and stuff like that. I know he won a couple the week before, and he gets that thing tuned up against some, technically we wouldn't call it cherry picking, but he doesn't travel. And then he shows up to these big shows, and he's always there. He's always contending. He's always got a chance to win. So I've become a big fan of his. He's fun to watch. I love listening to him too. He's a great guy to listen to.
I have Dale McDowell. Sorry to interrupt, but Dale McDowell won me $40 in that race because we have a race pool where you pick for starting positions, and I picked 27th. So he was my driver, but then because I picked a really bad number, because we didn't have enough people to fill the entire grid. If you had picks at the bottom, you got the chance to throw in it more money to get another number. So I picked number 5. So Davenport was my other driver. So I was really rooting for him to win. But he got second, and then McDowell on the last lap got in for third. So I had 2 drivers in the top 3. So I won $140.
All right. So IRS. You claim that on taxes?
I'll play money.
Nice.
Anybody on the local side there, Kraus?
Chad Becker. I don't know if you guys talked about him last week. I don't know or not, but I mean, swept that Aberdeen deal, and then had a rough night Thursday. I can't remember what happened in his heat with the sights, but another lap or 2 he would have transferred. They only took 2, and he got third. I'm in that B, and then had another rough heat race and started late and got second. That was a big show for him. And like you said, there's a reason why he's sitting right now, getting hot right now, heading into the Wissota 100, where he won 2 of the last 3, maybe 2 of the last 4, something down that. So good guy. I got a chance to know him. He's sponsored by the Aberdeen Wings, obviously a hockey team, and we used to always park by each other out in Montevideo, at Fiesta City there when I ran there for years. I got to know him a little bit. Good guy. Talk to him all the time. So he's my pick to win the 100, and hopefully he can stay hot.
And yeah, he had 7 straight wins coming into the sites. And then, so I mean, literally 2 weeks ago, it's like TPO was like way ahead. Bam, 7 straight wins. Now it's tied. Then he had the rough night Thursday, but a hell of a run for him there on Saturday. 24th, I think, the second. So I had him. He's one of the guys that I had, but I'm going to go with Rob Petroff. I talked about him, and a lot of the Montana guys and Wyoming guys, they just don't get a lot of love. We don't see them a lot over here. They're not on Dirt Race Central. They do have their on Speed Sport. They do have their own streaming out there, but they just don't ever really get any love. I don't know if them guys are coming to the 100. I hope so. But 9 straight wins. That's a hell of a good season. And he would be in the national championship race right now, but they had like literally 4 or 5 weeks in a row where it rained out. Like it was horrible all through June, and he ended up missing a whole bunch of shows because of rain. And just where they live out there in Belgrade, Montana, they're not traveling all the way over here. Financially, it just didn't make sense. So Rob Petroff's won. Dave Dulciak, the one to go show 83, 7 in a row, 9 on the year for him. Guys, he's getting tested this week. He's going to leave his home turf. A big boy growing up in front of my own very eyes here. He's going to Falls. #Falls on Saturday. 4,300 to win for Street Stocks. And he's raced against some of them guys. When they came up to his turf, he put it to them. Some of the top guys from Fairbury. Now he's going to go down and play on their turf for some real money in a Street Stock. Good luck to Dave down there. And just the point battles, right? You got a tie right now in the Street Stocks and in the late models going into the 100. Pretty cool stuff. Bert, who's not?
Well, I have 3 on my list, but I don't know if I'll go through all of them. I don't want to steal all yours, but I'll go with Brendan Overton. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was him and Davenport at Eldora Speedway. It was either one of those two that was going to win. And ever since that accident at Eldora that Overton had at the Dream, he just hasn't been the same. I don't know what it is, but, he didn't look very good, at the World 100 either.
You got any more?
Oh, I got 2 more. Jeff mentioned him earlier, T-Mac. He usually runs very well at Eldora, and he didn't look good any of the days. And then my third one is David Gravel just continues to fall in the points race that's not even going to be by the time we get towards the end of the season, it's not even going to be a points race.
100%. Coach Kraus, who's not?
We're going Nick Hoffman. I know he won that Red Cedar deal, was real good there. And I think since then he's got a fourth at Davenport. And other than that, hasn't really even been in the mix. And especially, early on in that World Outlaw deal, it looked like he was going to be able to hang with Bobby and maybe give him a run for that point deal. I don't even know where he's at in points now. I don't know if Shepard passed him or someone else passed him, but hasn't been racing as much either. I think he kind of hasn't been, he was kind of like RTJ and Pierce and running all the shows and going everywhere. So, he was kind of a guy early in the year who I thought would probably hit his stride right about now, just because he's a wheelman. He knows what's going on. So just kind of on the struggle bus right now lately, and hoping. I think he's kind of got a lot of fans out there. Hopefully, he can get in and mix it up with these guys.
So locally here, I'm going to go with somebody that's kind of had a perennial spot here. They've been on the not hot list for a while. Didn't even race this past weekend, and I get it. He was working. Plus, the rain in Superior didn't do that place any favors. But I'm going to go with Johnny Broking. Been talking about the Wissota 100 for a year now. It's your week to get your butt off the not hot list this week at the Wissota 100. Another guy, speaking of I-94 Speedway, Don Shaw. So last year, Don Shaw, invitational season, dominant. Won the Sights, won the Jamestown Stampede. I mean, he won a bunch of races. And he's just been kind of a non-factor, really. I mean, so coming home, got the Wissota 100. Obviously, he's been around that place a lot. Could he turn it around? It's kind of been pretty quiet all season long, but Don Shaw, a guy that the way that he ended last year, I figured he was going to win a bunch of races this year. So we're going to throw him on the not hot list as well. So special season is here. We talked about the big ones, right? BuyRaceShirts.com. Got to give them a quick shout out here. If you need hats, you need shirts, apparel of any kind for your race team, for your sponsors, for your clubs, whoever. For racers, by racers. Check them out online. That's buyraceshirts.com. So a couple other specials that went on. If there's anything that you guys caught that you think is noteworthy, Northern Nationals up at the Gondiclaw Speedway. That's always been the big one in my area this weekend. You got the Sights over west, and it's always been Superior. Well, night number one, they kind of did a Midwest mod deal, and Jason Vandekamp won night one. They had a bunch of smaller classes as well. Nothing against them. But the first real night, I guess, of it was Friday night. So Thursday night, guys, the track was a disaster. It was bad. It rained Tuesday and Wednesday, so it's not when that red clay gets rain, it is a bad deal. And so they ended up canceling Wednesday. Thursday, they fought the track all night long. I mean, they tore up a lot of stuff, but they worked their tails off. It wasn't perfect, but it was considerably better on Friday. Way better. So they worked a lot of hours to get that place into shape. The Hermantown Hammer, Daryl Nelson, doing what he does at invite time, parked the 44 in Victory Lane in the modified. Guys, one guy that we should probably have on the hot list, how about DJ Keeler? DJ Keeler won the Wissota Classic, started next to Sobraski front row in the Supers, and he held off Sobraski, Cook, and some of them guys to win the Northern Nationals on his home turf. That's 2 invitationals for the 12. That's super cool. James Vendella, local kid up there, winning in the Midwest Mods. Keith Tourville won in the Streeters. Kind of the big loser in that deal, Jody Belfi. Bert, I don't know if you heard about this, but
I did read it.
Yeah, coming to the checkers, it sounded like a mud clump or whatever. When he got into the infield, I don't know all the details, but it sounds like he was out, and then came to, and then he was out. But it sounds like it was a concussion. And I've had a concussion. I've had a couple concussions. I'm sure Sprouse playing hockey, racing, probably boxing in the pits. He's probably had a couple concussions as well. But sounds like Jody's going to miss at least a couple weeks here. So hopefully he can be back maybe before the red clay to get back behind that 11 ride. It's been really good the second half of the year. So hopefully he can get back after it. But kind of a bummer. Saturday, that was when the late models were going to run. Ended up raining out on Saturday. They had a rain date set for Sunday, but, and there was people. I mean, everybody's a critic, right? And they're like, They had a rain date. Why aren't they racing? The track after the rain on Thursday was almost unraceable. So they had a rough track already. And if they would have raced on Sunday, it would have been one of two things. It would have been a complete dust bowl because they would have had to make it really hard, or they would have just tore a bunch of equipment up. I think the Gondikla Speedway absolutely made the right call and just said, look, but we've battled enough rain and bad track conditions. We're just not gonna do it. So unfortunate, because as a race fan, you want to see that. IMCA Boone Super Nationals modified feature winner Tim Ward getting it done there. The IMCA stock cars, Dylan Thornton, kind of cool. The guy that got third, Kelly Shryock on the podium in the IMCA stock cars. And Bert, you had a couple notes there on Boone. They do an engine claim. Was that the winner? The winner, they have to get their engine up?
Yeah. Well, it used to be the top four. I don't know if it's still the top four, but I saw the results for the winner of each feature. And I mean, obviously, the modifieds and the sport mods, they run crates. I mean, you can run an open motor, but most of them race crates. So those engines actually received the lesser amount in the auction. It was actually, I believe, a street stock driver that it was the highest hit. That one sold for $10,000.
Hobby stock. I'm saying hobby stock.
Hobby stock.
Yeah.
And then the stock car was, I think, 9,000 something, and then the sport mod and mods were 7 and 8, somewhere in that range.
Kind of a crazy deal. Unbelievable car count down at Boone. And this has got to be the first year I can remember in a while where they didn't really have to fight much weather. They just kind of were able to roll right through. But did you see what they're doing there next year?
No,
Bert?
You're not talking about that fake story, are you?
Is that fake?
The 2 tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fake.
I donkey award to my dumbass because I took that hook, line, and sinker. Kraus, did you think that was real too, or am I the only one here?
Well, you're the one that sent it to me, so of course I thought it was you. You're Mr. Media, Mr. One to Go Show guy. Anytime you send me anything, I got to assume it's real.
Well, hey, you're a co-host here, so I figured you would have been researching that at work.
Well, I saw that story, and it's like I'm reading it, and it's like, are they really doing it? But I didn't want to fall for fake news, so I read the entire thing, and at the very end, it said that this article is satire by the IMCA staff, but it's just to show how many cars come to this event every year. But yes, that was a fake story.
Well done, I guess, IMCA. They should have saved that one for April Fool's Day is what they should have saved that one for. They got me good. So Dirt Kings were in action. I think it's still Wabam Dirt Kings late models. They were at the Outagamie Speedway in Seymour. Your winner, who they had 3 of them there this year. Mullen won the first 2. Anmeling started like way back the first 2 Dirt Kings races. This one he actually got to start in the front. And it paid off parking in Victory Lane, but little bit of fireworks there, Bert. What happened?
Well, it was towards the end of the race. Mike Mullen was running 3rd, and Jesse Glenz was running 2nd. And Mullen was running the cushion the entire time, and Glenz was running the low side. But then on the front straightaway, Mullen ducked to the inside, and in the 1 and 2, he got to the inside of Glenz, and they made some contact, and Glenn spun out, and Mullen kept going, but they ruled both cars should go to the back of the pack. So Glenn's just pulled off the track. Mullen did stay in the race and race. I mean, there was contact, but what's that saying? Rubbin's racing.
She was slippery, though. So
yeah,
it don't take much.
Well, and Mike Mullen's car owner did post on Facebook that he thought Mullen was a little too aggressive and probably was at fault. But it's interesting because Mullen's car owner also sponsors Jesse Glenz, so he was involved with both cars.
Yeah, unfortunate deal. Glenn's, who's really just been struggle bus. I mean, it would have been super cool to see him finish on the podium. Hopefully, he can make some noise this weekend at the legendary 100.
But I do have to say, I was at Eldora that afternoon, and I was just looking at my race pass to see how many cars they had for the Dirt King. So I'm looking through the roster of cars there, and it's like, really? He's there? Tyler Bruning made the trip to Outagamie Speedway in Shawano to race in a 5,000 to win Dirt Kings race the weekend of the World 100.
Kraus is a big fan of that. He says, I mean, when there's big races like the World 100, if you're a super late model guy, you got to skip that shit and go try to, get some low-lying fruit. Kraus, what is your take on that?
No, especially being in brand new Longhorn, correct? Yeah, with everybody there, all the Longhorn, everybody there, get your butt there, go learn something. You know what I mean? Especially because they got a lot of shows coming up there at Eldora. So get there, get your Longhorn going. Go meet and greet, go rub some elbows, go talk to all those guys, and get your car working a little better.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I was equally as surprised as you, Bert. World of Outlaw Sprints had a triple header. They had the Gold Cup down at Silver Dollar. Honestly, kind of uneventful racing, in my opinion, but a sweep for the posse. Not the Pennsylvania posse, the CA posse, California sweep. Kyle Larson, night 1, Buddy Kofoid, night 2, and Corey Day with the checkered flag toss, winning that's his first World of Outlaw win on night number 3. So, our weekly pick'ems, guys. Brought to you by Impact Health Sharing that time of year. If you own a business, if you have a family, if you drive a truck, if you're self-employed, if you pay for your own health care, if you're paying too much, hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you a quick quote. I can get you information that you need to make a decision. But we've been able to save people thousands of dollars annually on their healthcare costs with a product called Impact Health Sharing. Now, last week's recap, the old 71A here, guys. 13 points. 13 plus 13. Big week. Curtis plus 11. Kent plus 9. Bert and Dan plus 8. Brad and Mike plus 6. Carl plus 4. And Jeff from Michigan plus 1. Now, Jeff and Carl are brothers, okay? I'm just going to say it how it is. So Cruiser's not in the pick'ems. He will be next year. He's not this year. So when we put like local type stuff in there, like the Boone Super Nationals or the Northern Nationals or whatever, Carl about has a meltdown. He literally pouts and he literally just puts down random names like Rick Auckland or whoever. Like he don't even pick them, and he still had 3 more points than his brother who picked all the races. I'm just saying, we found out who the superior Erickson is. Okay. Now the points, Curtis at 165, your reigning champ, 2-time reigning champ, Bert Lehman at 163. Brad at 144. Mike at 143. Dan at 142. Really good battle for third. Good battle for the lead. Good battle for third. The 71A here at 133, 2 points ahead of Kent at 131. Carl at 120, and the inferior Erickson, if you will, at 109. Maybe we got to put Jeff on the not hot list. I think we go ahead and put Jeff on the not hot list. That's what we do. So this week, guys, we're picking the Wednesday Challenge Series finale at Fergus Falls. We're going to pick all the A mains at the Wissota 100. We're going to pick the late models and the modifieds. Had a couple guys in the group wanting to pick more than that at the Legendary, but that's all we're picking. All 3 nights of the Knoxville Late Model Nationals. And then 2 nights for the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Plus, tomorrow night, if you're watching this, it's probably Tuesday. We're doing the show here Monday. The Castro Flow Racing Night in America is back. #Falls Tuesday night. Kind of excited for that one. So the last lap here, guys, brought to you by Dirt Track Supply. They will be at the Wissota 100. Stop over there, say hi to Ron, say hi to Trevor. get your tires, get your parts. I mean, get a hold of them. They're great guys. They build the aero chassis, tons of success in racing. So for all things racing, that's Dirt Track Supply. But any final thoughts here before we get into our pick-ems, right? But any final thoughts on the WISSOTA 100, Legendary 100 coming up? Just keep an eye on them. They're both going to be on Dirt Race Central. Lots of racing to be had. XR Super Series with a little bit of news. Sounds like the Gondikla Speedway off the schedule. The Ogilvy Raceway on the schedule for 2024. Details to come. Sounds like that's going to be a pretty hefty payday. Get apparel, as you can see, got the new One to Go Show hat here. Got the Billiam shirt. I probably should have sent this with somebody to maybe get an autograph at the WISSOTA 100. If somebody can do that, if you have a 2X, stop down, see if maybe he'll sign that for you. If you're racing, probably not a good idea to wear this in pre-tech. Probably don't recommend that, but if you do, send us a picture. We'd love to see it. I guess any final shout-outs before we jump into our 3 bold predictions? Is there any final shout-outs that you guys have before jumping into the final segment here?
Well, I just want to clarify about, I said RTJ was working in a souvenir trailer. On Saturday morning, right when the gates opened for the souvenir area, he was the only one in his souvenir trailer. So he was running credit cards and he was grabbing T-shirts. And so he was doing it all over the weekend.
That's pretty cool. Nothing wrong with that. And it's a good way to interact with the fans as well. So that's super cool to see that. So 3 bold predictions. Shout out Mason Aaron's videos. Does a great job editing the videos for us. I mean, he has a lot of great content. Check him out online, Facebook, YouTube, and such. But we had some things come off the board here this week. So, Bert, you said that 2 Illinois drivers would finish on the podium at the World 100. Nope, that did not happen. You said AJ Demel was going to continue his incredible streak and finish on the podium at the sites. Did not happen. You said Mighty Mike Mullen was going to have a pair of podiums at Seymour, and Bert jinxed him as well. So the fan here said the old Wolverine Justin Bogle was going to have a pair of wins at the sites. He had a pair of DNFs. Trevor Nelson, he said Trevor Nelson is going to sweep in the super stocks. Didn't win either one. Brandon Dillman looked really good. 17 years removed from having super stocks at Grand Forks, and the dirt dueler of Brandon Dillman taking night number 1, Matt Sparby taking night number 2. And then they said that podium would not happen for AJ Demo, and they were correct on that one. They said, AJ Demo, it's over. You're not going to be on the podium there, and they were right. So I had a couple come off the board. I said that Justin Barsness and Josh Berg were both going to win the MPH Invitational and the National Championship. Well, Berg got second, and Justin Barsness was a no-show. Pretty confident they're going to win the points, but that don't get me a point. I said that Dustin Strand, between Dustin Strand, Jeff Massengill, and Mike Gresseth, 2 of the 3 would be on the podium. Well, Strand, come on, guy. Come on. I wanted to see him. I mean, this is like Dale Earnhardt at the frickin' Daytona 500. He wins everything there is to win at the River City Speedway. Lap 2, there was an incident at Racing Deal. I mean, it was tight quarters. Him and Edgerton got together, and he ended up going to the back on that deal. And Massengill, one of the other picks in here, got caught up in that, tore some stuff up on the right rear, and Gresseth faded a little bit. So that was incorrect. But I did get one right. I said Bobby Pierce and RTJ, the 2 hottest drivers in America in late models. I said neither one would be on the podium. That was correct. Neither one was on the podium. So
I did have another one come off the board. It was a football one, not a racing one.
Oh, you did. My bad. I told you, this ain't a football show. We don't talk football. All right. Old Bert Lehman said that it's The Green Bay Packer fans don't just like football; they love football. And Jordan Love was going to be the official quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and sounds like a proud new owner of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I made that prediction before Rodgers went into the darkness.
You did. That was a long time ago. You absolutely did. So our points right now, Bert, you got 41 correct, 62 wrong with a 39.8 average. I have 40 correct with 58 wrong, 40.8. So just barely ahead. And Jeff and the viewers, 9 correct, 38 incorrect, 19.1. So we're going to make 3 laps around the track here. And we're each going to pick 3. And what we do every week, we make 3 predictions. Typically racing, can be sports, can be show related. But the only real parameters is, it has to be something that's not opinion. Either did or did not happen. So, Coach Kraus, what is your first one?
We are. I got all 3. We got to pump the Wissota 100. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay, it's the big show. It's the big event. Ryan, you've won national championships. I was fortunate enough about 7-8 years in a row there, finishing in the top 10 on national points, and so we're sticking with the Wissota 100. Taking an upset in the street stocks at I-94 Speedway. Your winner of the Wissota 100 street stock feature, number 51 of Eric Riley.
It's been pretty sporty. Been pretty good, and he runs good there. That'd be fun to see. That's going to be one of the better races of the weekend. So Eric Riley taking home the big show for the Wissota Street Stocks. Bert, what say you?
I will stay with the Wissota 100, and I'm assuming that he will be there with both cars, and I will say Shane Zabrowski will double up and win the super stock and modified feature at the Wissota 100.
All right. I like it because you're going to go ahead and jinx a 7A. I like Shane, but way to go, Bert. So Zabrowski fans, that's Bert Lehman, Lehman. Hit him up when Shane has a bad night. I also am going to stick with the Wissota 100. I'm going to go modifieds here. And kind of a different kind of pick here. So we talked about this with the US MTS mods earlier in the year, the parity between chassis brands, right? There's going to be 4 different chassis brands in the top 5 of the finishing order on Saturday night, championship Saturday night in the Wissota Modified A main. 4 different chassis brands will be represented. Pros.
We are sticking to the Wissota 100 in the modified class. I am calling it right now. Brady Gertis is sweeping. He's going to win the heat. He's going to win the qualifier, and he's going to win the A feature on Saturday. So, Brady Gertis usually only shows up on Friday. He runs Friday, and then he goes on Saturday. And I talked to them at Viking the last night, and they're debating maybe going Thursday. They run their own business down there in Villard, got some stuff. It's tough for them to get up there and the cost, and I get that. So, but that's my prediction, winning his heat, the qualifier, and the big feature on Saturday.
He only ran Friday last year, right? And Saturday.
Correct.
And he ended up 4th. There was a major 3-way battle between Johnny Broking, TPO, and Zabrowski for the lead, and literally lurking right behind them was the 2X there, Brady Gertis, and he has been really, really good. Kind of sniped that one from me there, guy. I should have probably took that one first. Bert, your second pick.
I am going to go to the Falls race on Tuesday night, and Rockets victory celebration ends as there will be no Rockets in the podium finishing positions at Falls.
You said you're going? Oh, you're not. You're not.
No, I'm not actually going to it.
So that's the Tuesday night show, the Castro Flow Racing Night in America. No Rockets in the top 5.
Top 3.
Top 3. Trying to think out loud here who that could be. who the boy. I tell you what, it's hard to pick against Huddy there, but yeah,
I know.
mean,
That's why
all
these
that,
are
but
bold
all
predictions.
right, all right, all right. I'm gonna go with Soda 100 again, and I'm gonna pick some winners here, and at least 3 of these drivers will win the A main on Saturday night. In the late models, I got Tyler Peterson. In the modifieds, I got Brady Gertis. In the super stocks, I got Trevor Nelson to go back to back. In the Midwest mods, I got Mike Nichols. And in the street stocks, he's kind of been in a little slump lately, but Braden Brower gonna win in the street stock division. At least 3 of those drivers will win their respective A main Saturday night. Pros.
Last one. We're going. This is going to be. It's pretty bold. They got pretty close last year, but I'm calling. We're going to go with the car count for the Midwest mods. We're going 100 Midwest mods at the WISSOTA 100. They hit 89 last year. They darn near get 89 on a regular night at I-94. So I don't know any reason why, but I'd like to see it. I'd love to see it. I think the fans would love to see it. I think that'd be kind of cool. But we're gonna hope for 100 Midwest mods at the WISSOTA 100.
And that is a hell of a field of Midwest mods over there too. So I'm telling you, I'm excited for this week. We give WISSOTA a lot of shit, right? But the fact is, it's all because we just want to see improvements. We actually love racing. We love WISSOTA as a whole. Don't always agree with some of the stuff that's happening within WISSOTA, but man, we want to see this event be a success, and I really think it's going to be. So, Bert, go ahead.
I will go Knoxville, and say Mike Marlar will have 2 podium finishes, with one of them being a victory.
Okay, so that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the Knoxville Nationals for the late models. Marlar, 2 podiums, one of them being a win. Okay. So they've been a little bit lackadaisical on getting things done in a timely fashion at the WISSOTA 100 in the past years. A lot of 2 a.m. nonsense here. Championship Saturday night will finish before midnight this year. So there you have it. So Kraus, are you heading up to Fergus Falls any of the nights? You're gonna bring that troublemaker Dan Colina with you, your co-host there on the Dirt podcast. Check that out wherever podcasts are available.
No, he's boycotting. He's still rattled. I think. Yeah. Well, my cars. I debated maybe going on Friday just with my hockey schedule and stuff, but I think I heard a cylinder in my car. My low and reverse is out of my tranny, so that baby's basically sitting there in pieces right now. And last year I went up and I tested Bailey Rosh's car. We got him dialed in, so I think I might bring my dad up on Wednesday, and then I got tennis meets Thursday and homecoming parades and stuff on Friday, and then possibly I think the wife and I might go up on Saturday. So I'm hoping that I want to get to a racetrack. I saw the in-car or the infield video of Eldora, Bert. Did you see that, Ryan, when Huddy went across the finish line with Davenport? And just the sound and the excitement of being at a racetrack, it was like, wow, it was unbelievable. Like, I got to get there. We got to get there and watch. So I think I might, and we went last year and, hung out. Obviously I'm a promoter here at Viking Speedway. We hung out in the WISSOTA tent and got to meet Como Joe and, bounce some ideas off some promoters and get to meet some promoters and say, hey, what worked for you guys this year? And, talk to some promoters. I think you got to do that too as a speedway. So I think I'm going to head up there for a couple of days and have some fun.
Absolutely. And I don't know where I'm going to end up during the week. I'm actually up in Superior, Wisconsin right now. So whichever way I go here over the next couple of days, if I head over to Fergus Falls direction hauling something, or over to Cedar Lake hauling something, I might stop in one of the prelim nights. Saturday though, I'm gonna join the boys down at #Falls Mars late model event But they have a 4,300 to win street stock event down there at Fairbury. So we're going to go see if we can make it 8 in a row for the 83, and this one would be a nice payday for them. So good luck to all the racers this weekend. I mean, this is the biggest event. I mean, we give Wissota a lot of shit, but ultimately this is the biggest event of the year Wissota wise. So good luck to all the teams competing this weekend. Be safe. Hopefully we can talk about you in a good way next week, maybe hitting victory lane, something fun. But thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a good week, and thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.